الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم. Hello everybody. My dear students at Port-Said University Faculty of Commerce English program, this is our course Organizational Behavior. And this course is for the first grade. In this lecture we are going to discuss and cover the chapter 6. This chapter entitled Attitudes and Job Satisfaction. Attitudes and Job Satisfaction. Learning objectives. For this chapter, after reading the current chapter, you will be able to understand the concepts of attitudes, intentions, and behavior. Identify how the attitudes are formulated according to each one of the 3 attitudes formation approaches. Discuss the most common work-related attitudes. Learn how you could measure job satisfaction at your business or at your organization. Attitudes and behavior. So, this course is organizational behavior. So, what is the relationship between attitudes and behavior? How can a work environment characterized by positive work attitudes, how can it be created and how can it be maintained? An attitude can be defined as a predisposition to respond in a favorable or unfavorable way to objects or persons in one's environment. When we like or dislike something, we are expressing our attitude toward the person or object. So, the attitude can be thought of as composed of 3 highly interrelated components. The first component is a cognitive component, and this component dealing with the beliefs and ideas a person has about a person or object. The second component is an affective component, and we can call it the affect. And this component dealing with a person's feelings toward the person or object. The third component for the attitude is an intentional component. And this component dealing with the behavioral intentions a person has with respect to the person or object. Indeed, the general model of the relationship between attitudes and behavior can be described in Exhibit 6.1. So, in this exhibit, as can be seen, attitudes lead to behavioral intentions. The attitudes lead to behavioral intentions, which in turn lead to actual behavior. Following behavior, we can often identify efforts by the individual to justify his behavior. So here you will find the behavioral justification or the cognitive consistency. And in this model, you will find here the internal and situational constraints over the person's behavior. So, this is the relationship between attitudes and behavior. Attitudes, behavioral intention, actual behavior, and here you will find internal and situational constraints over the person's behavior. And at the end, you will find the behavioral justification or cognitive consistency. Let us examine each of these components of the model separately, beginning with the process of attitude formation. So the very important question here is, how are attitudes formed? Indeed, there is considerable disagreement about this question between researchers. However, there are 3 prominent approaches can be used to clarify how attitudes formed. The first approach is dispositional approach. The first approach is the dispositional approach, which argues that attitudes represent relatively stable predispositions to respond to people or situations around them. So, attitudes represent relatively stable predispositions to respond to people or situations around them. So, according to this approach, attitudes are viewed almost as personality traits. So, the attitudes are related to the persons itself, not to situation, not to the social information. The second approach is situational approach. The second approach to attitude formation is called the situational approach. This approach argues that attitudes emerge as a result of this uniqueness of a given situation. They are situationally determined and can vary in response to changing work conditions. Thus, as a result of experiences at work, a boring or unrewarding job, bad supervisor, bad co-workers, etc., people react by developing appropriate attitudes for them. So, according to this approach, the attitudes can be viewed almost as a result of the conditions, work conditions, or the situations around the persons. The third approach to attitude formation is called social information processing approach. Social information processing approach, or social group effect. Other advocates of the situational approach suggest somewhat more complicated process of attitude formation, namely the social information processing approach. This view asserts that attitudes result from socially constructed realities as perceived by the individual. And in this point, you can see the exhibit 6.2 as we will discuss later. That is, the social context in which the individual is placed shapes his perceptions of the situation and hence his attitudes. So, taking a look for the exhibit 6.2, a social information processing view of attitudes formation. Here, the process, according to this approach, the social context, and here is information concerning event, and here is the attitude formation. For example, if a new employee joins a work group, the co-workers will describe the work situation for this person, for this new employee, with regard to supervisor, pay and benefits, acceptable output level, and this person will start to process this information to build his own attitudes. The new employee will form attitudes consistent with those of co-workers. So, the new employee will come to the organization and he will start receive information from his co-workers. And then this person will process this information received from his co-workers and he will start to build his own attitudes inconsistent with those of co-workers. The work-related attitudes. After knowing the meaning of attitudes and the approaches can be used to describe how attitudes formed. What are the work-related attitudes? When we apply the concept of attitudes to work settings, we have to specify which attitude we are concerned with. Although a variety of work-related attitudes can be identified in the organization, most of the research in OB has looked at three prominent attitudes at the work. The first attitude is job involvement. The second one is organizational commitment. The third one is job satisfaction. What is the meaning of job involvement? Job involvement refers to the extent to which a person is interested in and committed to assigned tasks. This is not to say that the person is happy or satisfied with the job, only that he feels a certain responsibility toward ensuring that the job itself is done correctly and with a high standard of competence. Here, the focus of the attitude is the job itself. So, job involvement refers to the feelings toward the job itself. Organizational commitment, the second related attitude, organizational commitment. Organizational commitment represents the relative strength of an individual's identification with and involvement in an organization. Commitment can be characterized by three factors. One, a strong belief in and acceptance of the organization's goals and values. Two, a willingness to exert considerable effort on behalf of the organization. And three, a strong desire to maintain membership in the organization. The last attitude related to the work is job satisfaction. Job satisfaction may be defined as pleasurable or positive emotional state resulting from the appraisal of one's job or job experience. So, job satisfaction is a pleasurable or positive emotional state resulting from the appraisal of one's job or job experience. It results from the perception that an employee's job actually provides what he values in the work situation. There are many dimensions of the job satisfaction. Dimensions of job satisfaction. It has been argued that job satisfaction actually represents several related attitudes. So when we speak of satisfaction, we must specify satisfaction with what? Researchers suggest that there are 5 job dimensions that present the most prominent characteristics of a job about which people have effective responses. The first dimension is work itself, the extent to which tasks performed by employees are interesting and provide opportunities for learning and for accepting responsibility. The second dimension is pay. The amount of pay received, the perceived equity of the pay, and the method of payment. Third dimension is promotional opportunities, the availability of realistic opportunities for advancement. The fourth dimension is supervision, the technical and managerial abilities of supervisors, the extent to which supervisors demonstrate consideration for employees and interest in their subordinates. The fifth and last dimension of job satisfaction is co-workers, the extent to which co-workers are friendly, technically competent, and supportive. So, in order to assess the job satisfaction for any person, you have to measure, you have to cover all these dimensions: work itself, pay, promotional opportunities, supervision, and co-workers. How can we measure the job satisfaction? As we told you before, that we want to learn something for studying and also for our life. So, how can we measure the job satisfaction? Probably the most common attitude surveys in organizations today focus on job satisfaction. Satisfaction is considered by many managers to be an important indicator for the organizational effectiveness, and therefore it is regularly monitored to assess employee feelings toward the organization. So it's very important to assess or measure the job satisfaction for your subordinates or for your employees. One of the most popular is the Minnesota Satisfaction Questionnaire. Minnesota Satisfaction Questionnaire, and this questionnaire made by or developed by the Minnesota University. So one of the most popular is the Minnesota Satisfaction Questionnaire, MSQ. Then you can assess your scoring on a short version at the end of this section, as we will discuss now. So this is the short form, the short version of the Minnesota Satisfaction Questionnaire, MSQ. And this version only consists of 20 statements. So by using this questionnaire, you can assess the job satisfaction for your subordinates. The following statements concern your attitude toward your current job. Your task is to indicate how you are satisfied with each aspect of your job. Utilizing a scale depicted as the circles after each statement, shade the number from 1 to 5 from the following scale. 1 represents not satisfied, 2 somewhat satisfied, 3 satisfied, 4 very satisfied, 5 extremely satisfied. So, you have to ask yourself, how satisfied am I with this aspect of my job? And you have to shade circle from these 5 circles as you feel about your job. For example, being able to keep busy all the time. Being able to keep busy all the time. بمعنى إن الوظيفة تجعلني مشغول طول الوقت. الوظيفة تجعلني مشغول طول الوقت. 1 2 3 4 5 and you have to shade circle. So, after finishing these 20 statements in this questionnaire, you can calculate the scoring, you can calculate the numbers, and then 20, meaning that the employee is not satisfied, 40, meaning somewhat satisfied, 60, satisfied, 80, very satisfied, 100, extremely satisfied. So, for yourself or for any other person, you can utilize this short form of the Minnesota Satisfaction Questionnaire to measure the job satisfaction. At the end of this lecture, hope all is going well with you, and thanks a lot.